Okay, so Awful Announcing has an article on their website. I suggest you guys go check out the article for yourself. Awful Announcing has an article and it's titled Who's on the Mount Rushmore for Overhyped Athlete? Okay? Okay, so we're gonna just read into the article. Like I said, go check out Awful Announcing and see the article for yourself. But here we go. Hype. It makes the modern day sports news and entertainment industry tricked. It's a style over substance. Sports fans know this all too well, and it's always been the best, most successful teams that draw the most media coverage. It's all about stars, the personalities, and the brands. And in 2024, this seems like it's more true than ever before. The most talked about teams that ESPN cover are the New York Jets and the Dallas Cowboys. I want to stop there for a second. I wouldn't now. I would say for the past 3 years for the Dallas Cowboys, it's more hype than substance. Okay. I feel like the Dallas Cowboy problems are internal. I feel like Jerry Jones should relinquish a lot of power and control of how to orchestrate and build a team from the bottom up to a head coach or NFL personality or, a GM that knows how to build teams. I think the time has came and went for Jerry Jones, and he needs to relinquish that part of the equation. And I feel like the Dallas Cowboys will be a very competitive team, minus Dak Prescott. Okay. But other than that, I do feel like the Dallas Cowboys shouldn't belong on the most hyped teams on the Mount Rushmore because of their past. They had success in the past. And if you look at the Dallas Cowboys in the past 5 years, they have been fairly competitive. Okay, even with Jerry Jones, messing with the team and not building the team properly, and these idealisms that Jerry Jones has, he wants to take care of his hometown players that he built from the draft. He want to take care of them instead of going into free agency or going into the draft, looking for players that can contribute to the team right away. That's not going to cost you a lot of money because you have to deal with a salary cap now. I feel like if there was no salary cap, Jerry Jones would just buy him a championship. Okay. That's the only talent Jerry Jones has. Jerry Jones is not the most smartest individual that can just look at someone on the field and tell whether or not that player has talent or not. Jerry Jones doesn't have a scheme or a system that has been very successful, proven successful. The only thing Jerry Jones knows how to do is make money and how to market his team. And he can still make his team profits and he can still market this team. But as far as putting personalities on the field, I think that time has came and went for Jerry Jones. So I want to say 1 foot in, 1 foot out on the Dallas Cowboys as far as putting them on the Mount Rushmore for overhyped team. Now, when you look at the New York Jets, Jets, I knew minus the Aaron Rodgers era. Try to say that 3 times fast. The New York Jets are the New York Jets. Okay. If you look at their history, the time the New York Jets were successful was, way back in the 50s. Okay. Broadway Joe and all that stuff. Okay. Stuff that if we do a video on and I tell you about these certain players that the New York Jets had and the times the New York Jets have been successful, a lot of you people that are listening to this video, you're not going to know none of these players. Okay. I feel like today's fans, they know Troy Aikman. from broadcasting, and they also know he was a very successful quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. I think today's fans, they know who Michael Irvin is, the playmaker, 88. You know, he was a wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. You know, I think today's fans can identify with the Dallas Cowboys past stars, and they're transitioning very well in media. Okay, but when you talk about the New York Jets, I mean, a lot of you guys are not even going to know who the New York Jets is. And I'm going to take it a step further. I think the average person who's not a fan of sports, particularly not a fan of the NFL, if you say the Cowboys, instantly people are going to say, oh, that's the Dallas Cowboys of the NFL. And that's, you can pretty much you can pretty much get that right 9 times out of 10 around the world. It doesn't matter if you do it here in America or if you do it overseas. People know who the Dallas Cowboys are. They market very well. They have the iconic colors, the iconic helmet, and they have iconic players in the past, present, as well as in the future. Okay? Not so much for the New York Jets. But we're going to keep moving on. I don't want to make this video extremely too long. Okay? But certainly they're not alone. Charles Barkley openly made fun of the National Lakers offseason. The MLB pretty much has the Yankees-Red Sox games, national television. Leonardo Messi is in soccer, okay, in the World Cup. But when it comes to the Mount Rushmore of overhyped athletes, there can only be 4. So who are the most overhyped, overcovered, oversaturated athletes in sports? Here is the list, okay? They first start off with Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow. How could this list start with anyone else? Okay, there was only one Tim Tebow. There really isn't a better microism for the way sports operates. Media industry has changed over the last decade. Plus, Tebow was a star in college in Florida, winning the Heisman, the national championship, but his style of play was the face and the uphill battles he endured as a pro. Okay? His biggest fan was Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless hitched his wagon on Tebow. Embrace debate was born. There may never be another athlete that can match the height of Tebow mania, where both of his supporters and what you want to call them, haters, detectors, had equal level of ammunition about Tim Tebow. Was really the first story driven in the 24/7 news cycle, particularly with sports, social media infused the sports media cycle. There was debate that drove coverage more as the result of themselves, unless you were there live, living it. It was truly impossible to communicate just how much ESPN lost their minds collectively as an entire network over Tim Tebow. We're talking live tweets, press conferences, birthday celebrations. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. I agree with putting Tim Tebow on the Mount Rushmore. When they were talking about Tim Tebow, I think that was the birth of, with 24/7 sports, with social media, that was the birth to me of covering someone on and off the field. Okay, it has been done before that, but not to the level they did with Tim Tebow. I remember First Take talking about Tebow every Monday morning. Skip and Stephen A. Smith, you know, well, Stephen A. Smith was against a lot of things Tim Tebow was doing on the field. Skip was for Tim Tebow. You had former NFL players that was totally against Tebow because Tebow interjects something different in the NFL. And the NFL was pretty much the same recipe. You know, you have to be able to read coverage. If you want to be a quarterback, you have to be able to read coverage. You have to be a strong-minded leader, and you have to have some arm talent. Okay, Tim Tebow didn't have the greatest arm talent. Tim Tebow was decent as you know, looking down the field, what he can get away with, what he can't get away with. But Tim Tebow, athleticism is his athleticism and his IQ is why Tim Tebow made it in the National Football League. The Denver Broncos took a chance on Tim Tebow. They reconstructed their team for Tim Tebow to fit Tim Tebow's talent with the talent that they had with the Denver Broncos. Tim Tebow is not going to be very successful in a traditional NFL setting where you have, when you have, oh my God, oh okay, I thought this was messed up. Okay, so Tim Tebow wasn't going to be like a Peyton Manning, all right, or Drew Brees. Tim Tebow can win, but he had to win differently from those types of players. And, you know, to me, and it probably has been done before Tim Tebow, but to me, that was the first time the NFL bent the way how they did things. NFL teams bent on the way. I think it birthed the Lamar Jacksons. You know, those type of athletic quarterbacks, you know, who's hellified, talented, athletic, who's athletically gifted, athletically blessed, but is not a Tom Brady. He's not a pocket passer. He's not a Tim Tebow, okay? Traditionally in the NFL back in the day, an athletic quarterback, they would say, well, you're not good as a quarterback. Well, maybe you can be good on special teams. Or maybe you can be good in a special situation. Or maybe you can be good as a running back or a wide receiver. Now you're starting to see a lot of athletic quarterbacks getting opportunities, winning games, winning titles. Okay? So I feel like Tim Tebow started that train, and they haven't moved back since then. Was Tim Tebow overhyped? Yes, Tim Tebow was definitely overhyped. Okay? But did they get... I feel like the Denver Broncos got the best out of Tim Tebow. Now, when Tim Tebow went to the New York Jets, that was more of a sideshow. He was never going to get the opportunity to be a full-time starting quarterback with the New York Jets. And then when he went to the New England Patriots, again, I just think he was hitching his wagons to a successful team so he can win a Super Bowl. It was never a situation where he was going to dethrone Tom Brady, okay? I think they was going to utilize Tim Tebow in different packages with the New England Patriots, but it was always going to be Tom Brady or bust, all right? But when he was with the Denver Broncos, they got the most mileage out of Tim Tebow. And the media and with the Tim Tebow coverage, and a lot of people don't want to say this, but when Tim Tebow was doing his thing in the NFL, you had people that were for and against Tebow. They were, they were making their names household names. Now, to me, as a sports, someone who loves sports, I always knew who Skip Bayless was. I always knew who Stephen A. Smith was, Shannon Sharp, Chris Carter, Jason Whitlock. I knew all of these personalities because I would literally be watching ESPN more times than not than anything else. But to the average person or the average fan, they didn't know who these people were until they started listening in on their opinions about Tim Tebow. And Tim Tebow was a celebrity star. He started the celebrity star phenomena in sports. Okay, yes, they have been stars before Tim Tebow and after Tim Tebow, but we was treating Tim Tebow like he was an actor in a movie, in an amazing movie. All right, so that's that. All right, hold on one second. Next person on the list is Bronny James. I knew he was going to be on this list somehow, somewhere. The entire reason why this list is being written now is for the NFL career of Bronny James. For years, we wanted to see if LeBron James would fulfill his wish, become the first NBA father and son duo with Bronny. Yet, what should have been a greater story probably still will be, because it is becoming a wash with the realism that it was a little too orchestrated for everyone's liking. After thankful overcoming his health scare, and this is Bronny James, when he was in college, Bronny did not find much success as a freshman at USC. In spite of that, he entered the 2024 NBA draft as a prospect. It's fair to say Bronny James was the most talked about second round pick in NBA history, as he was drafted by the Lakers. This hype and speculation continued on his first game of the season, where he joins LeBron. Bronny appearance was pre-planned for the second quarter. Bronny was the only who only played a few minutes, spent the rest of the opening night on the bench after scoring his first NBA point in Cleveland. He has been shipped to the G League for development. That hasn't really gone well either. Okay, so we're gonna stop right there. All right. So Bronny James. Let's talk about Bronny James. I felt like if Bronny James didn't have the last name James, he wouldn't have never been drafted in the NBA draft. It's just fair to say. Bronny James is not ready for that particular level. Matter of fact, I felt like he should have spent another year in college, but I'm pretty sure LeBron is looking and saying to himself he doesn't really have that many years in the NBA at the level that he's in right now. And luckily, not luckily, they orchestrated the way where the Lakers were only going to draft Bronny James. LeBron and his team let the other teams in the NBA let them know that if they would have drafted Bronny James, then he would not shown up. Okay, so they was giving everyone fair warning not to draft Bronny James. And to be fair, I don't think there was a team interested in signing Bronny James in the first round. There were talk that they would draft Bronny James if that would have meant getting LeBron James. That was the only way I felt like teams were going to draft Bronny James. But I felt like he fell where he fell in the second round because of his last name, James. All right. And the Lakers, out of all the teams, the Lakers were the only team that was interested because LeBron James is on that team. Now, Bronny James has a lot of growing to do in the NBA. He's not in his man body yet. He's really undersized. Um, I mean, I'm not here to say that he has to be good at everything, but you have to hang your hat on something. All right. And, shooting, as far as an offensive threat, he's really not an offensive threat. He's too undersized to be a defensive threat. I think he needs to focus more on defense. Particularly when you're a basketball player and you're trying to fit in. The best way you can fit in for a team is to be a better defender. I think playing defense, particularly in basketball, it's easier to play defense in basketball than it is to play offense. You have to get into your groove. You have to have a certain type of talent and skill set to shoot up so many shots. And I feel like it's more stressful to be an offensive threat because it's going to be nice where the ball's not going in, it's not in your favor. However, if you play defense, it builds character, it builds will, it builds structure, and you feel like you accomplish more when you focus. And I feel like Bronny James had to be more of a defender than playing on offense. Okay, particularly if he wants to get back in the NBA. I think there was one game in the G League where I think he scored 30 points. I'm not 1,000% sure of that. I don't watch the G League, but the rest of the games he has been struggling. He's just trying to get into where he can fit in. Hopefully, I feel like everyone deserves a year up to just go through the process, and Bronny James at least deserves that because look, he's in the NBA, all right. But is he overhyped as of right now? Yes, he is definitely overhyped. The only reason why he's getting an opportunity in the NBA is because of his last name, James. His father is a very successful player. He has Clutch Sports. He has so many media personalities tied to him. So, of course, he has some level of influence and control to get his son on an NBA team. All right. So, next one on the list is Freddie Abdul. I don't really cover soccer, but we'll just go ahead and read the article. It's easy to forget, but Freddie Abdul in the MLS debut was one of the most overhyped stories, not just in sports, but in the entire country. He appeared in a commercial with Pele when he was 14 years old, immediately became the highest paid player in MLS when he signed to the DC United. As a teenager, Abdul was destined to be U.S. first real global superstar in soccer and would second-handedly put MLS on the map. Abdul would show some flashes of brilliance and solid play, even earning a call-up in 2006 at 16 years old. But once he traveled to Europe, signed with Barcelona in 2007, it was one loan odyssey after another. Abdul has been forgotten about. He ended up not as a global superstar, but an anomalous journeyman who scored just 28 goals in his entire club career, which ended in 2018. Now, I'm just going to stop it right there. I don't know a lot about Freddie Abdul. I heard the stories. I think a lot of people were taking advantage of Freddie Abdul. I think the MLS was taking advantage of him because they needed a superstar quick, fast, in a hurry. I think a lot of adults pushed Freddie Abdul And they didn't care about the person. They only cared about what he can do for MLS or DC United. I heard about the story, um, and a lot of people took advantage of him, and you just kind of feel bad for the kid. He really, if they would just allow him to grow and develop, who knows? He would have been a solid soccer star. But yeah, I don't cover soccer that much, but I do remember that story. He made it to 2018. He started at 14 years old. So I think that's a pretty good life for him. It just didn't go the way people thought it was going to go. And to be honest, he was a very humble person. He never wanted this spotlight. He never wanted to be a superstar. He just wanted to help contribute to a team. So he was very humble. All right. So that's what I remember about that. All right. Speaking of that, let's talk about Dak Prescott, my quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. You guys know I'm a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. So let's just get into the article. Perhaps this honor is cruel, but this one is for Dak Prescott. He's been very good for several years as an NFL quarterback, but he also is cursed with the fact that he's been with the Dallas Cowboys and has endured through a lengthy era of postseason. Prescott has a number and has success for any other team in the league. He has been lifted as an above average quarterback who is constantly performing, maybe somewhere between Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff. But with the Dallas Cowboys, his every move has been scrutinized, and he's faced with being the most talked about athlete in America, even though he has fewer Pro Bowl appearances than Derek Carr. Okay, I'm just going to stop right there. All right. So, you guys know I'm a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. I don't hide the fact. Matter of fact, I made a video about the Dallas Cowboys last week. Go check that out. The Dallas Cowboys are not going anywhere. I think the Dallas Cowboys just need to rebuild. They're paying Dak Prescott way too much for that type of performance. It would have been best for the Dallas Cowboys to move past Dak Prescott. I love Dak Prescott, but I just don't like the contract of Dak Prescott. And that's one of those type of things where you love the athlete, you just don't like the dollar sign that's in front of that athlete. And, there's nobody to blame. Dak Prescott betted on himself. He won very big. He beat the odds. He beat the system. Jerry Jones was just thought that if I just wait around, I can get Dak Prescott for the cheap. He ended up paying more for Dak Prescott for that mistake and for that move. And like I said in the beginning of this video, I feel like Jerry Jones, as a getting players for the team, building the team. I think those days are behind Jerry Jones. I think he needs someone with experience that know how to build teams. Jerry Jones, he knows how to make Dallas Cowboys talked about every single year. Jersey sales, ticket sales, franchise, how much the franchise is worth and all that stuff. He knows how to do all that stuff. But as far as building teams, I think he needs to leave that to the professionals. And that's just not, him anymore. But I think that's the reason why we're stuck with Dak Prescott is mostly Jerry Jones. But hey, it is what it is. Yeah, he deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore. All right. So here's some honorable mentions. Brian Bosworth. He played with the Seattle Seahawks. He also been in a couple of movies. Anna Kournikova, the Russian tennis star. I remember her. Dan and Dave. If you grew up in the 1990s, Dan and Dave, Reebok commercial, the Olympic athletes, I remember that. Johnny Manziel, you know, Aaron Rodgers of the Jets, Jeremy Lin. So yeah, I remember all these athletes, and yeah, that was a very interesting article. And yeah, so that's all I got for today. Guys, tell me what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys sometime this week. If not, next week. And we'll get it back up again. I'll talk to you guys later. Deuces.